How awesome would it be to wake up from a blackout and realize you're on somebody's album snoring?
I'd start suing for royalties, man. I don't work for free.
No, I cut him because he's off tempo.
You're listening to nothing important. Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
I'm now recording us.
All right. Okay.
That's a lot of pressure. Oh, you just remind me to turn on the backup recorder too. I'm recording it twice.
Nice. We don't do that. We once did an interview with Greg Johnson, who created Toe Jam and Earl on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
And we talked to him for like an hour and a half. Really cool dude, because he was trying to raise money for the new Toe Jam and Earl game on Kickstarter. And it's one of my all-time favorite games. And so it was so awesome he came on. I was super stoked. Like, we've talked to like some pretty decent sized celebrities, and I don't think anybody's excited me as much as Greg Johnson, right, Dave?
Yeah, no.
Like, even my childhood hero, Dan Severn, the MMA fighter, I was like, oh, that's cool. We got Dan on. Really cool dude. But then I was like, Greg Johnson, Toe Jam and Earl. Like, so in the studio, we have the control room and then the live room on the other side of the wall. And we were recording in the live room because there was 4 of us. We came back after the interview, and the fucking console computer blue screened.
Oh.
Yeah.
What got me to start using a backup recorder is I had the guitarist of a band called Flyleaf on, and it's,
nice.
I loved them a lot in high school, and it was like the first real interview we did where like the management was telling me you have to pick him up at this certain time, drop him off back at the venue at this certain time, and I was nervous and freaking out because that's just part of what I do all the time, and I started the interview like perfect. It sounded like I wasn't nervous, and he's a guitarist, and I started the interview. I was like, man, I just don't understand how you sing so beautiful, and he didn't get the joke, and he's like I'm not the singer, and that's how it started. Like, it could not have started better. And 15 minutes in, my computer crashed and lost everything.
Oh,
and I only
no.
had him for 40 total minutes. So like I restarted my computer and started again. So the interview is me talking to him for 15 minutes and like 5 songs, because that's all I could do. Like, it was like, so who are you? I'm Samir. Okay, let's listen to a song. And then like in between songs, so let's tell us about the next song. And that's all I got to really talk about because my computer crashed. So I made sure that should never happen ever again.
That sucks.
Awesome. Well, for those of you listening, this is the Nothing Important Podcast. I'm Brian. With me, as always, is my homie Dave. Dave, say hello.
Big 5-0.
Word. And actually, this is like our 50th episode, right? Like, it kind of snuck up on us, and we had no idea what the hell we were going to do for it, right, Dave?
Right, so we're doing something random.
Yeah, so so what happened was we hit like the front page of the internet, fucking Reddit, our podcast, and we put it out there like, hey, we're in our studio, Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. We're in our studio. Anybody wants to be on the show, talk about your podcast? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. And we have Jason from A Basement in Tulsa podcast. Jason, hello.
What's going on, man? Hello.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. You and I have talked and went back and forth several times on Reddit. And
Yes.
It's good to finally talk to you, man. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah.
It's good to have you on our show.
It's good that I was like a normal Redditor at work and saw that.
Right. I don't think anybody goes on Reddit at home. I don't think that happens. I think it all happens at work. Like, everybody wants to get paid to Reddit. Nobody does that shit on their own accord.
They might as well call it read this form while you're pooping.
Right. Exactly. So, Jason, your podcast, A Basement in Tulsa. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you do, my friend?
Maybe where it's located.
Yeah, maybe if you could like pinpoint somewhere.
It's called From a Basement in Tulsa because I wanted to start with a confusing name because, smart like that. But I just talked to bands and people around Tulsa or visiting Tulsa that I'm interested in their art, man. And that's kind of the whole show is just having conversations with people with music I like, or I don't know, just artists or authors or whoever will come, whoever I can talk into dragging down into a literal basement.
That's awesome. So wait, do they come to you? Like, you don't do it over they come to a basement, like an actual basement?
Yeah, and it started. I moved into a basement apartment, and it's just as creepy as you would first picture. But I didn't see it that way because I loved it. It was cool. It was like a hobbit hole. And then I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast, and kept the name and started getting interviews. And people, like my friends, of course, would come over, and that's fine. But as we started getting people I didn't really know, it was kind of hard to like tell them, like, yeah, you're gonna have to walk to the back of this creepy house into this creepier basement and me the host, like you have to walk past the teepee I built for who knows why to just walk into this weird basement. So like it really is that crazy. We're now in a studio though. When I moved out of the apartment, I just rented a basement office space, so
Gotcha.
it's easier to get people there.
Awesome.
You walk into a corporate lobby first, and it makes you feel like you're doing something professional, and then we take you to the creepy part, which is the basement.
So it's like it's not what we do here, because this studio is located on the third floor above a bar. So it's like there's
cool.
the entrance to the bar, and then there's this wooden door next to it. And when I bring clients up the first time, they're like, why are we going up all these stairs into this creepy ass building? There's like one sticker that says the name of the studio on it. So it's like, it's legit studio. See, we have a sticker.
Yeah. Anytime I picture like a side door at a bar, the first thing I imagine is as how many people have peed on that door.
God damn it. I touch that door handle every
That's
day.
the first thing I think of.
And it's probably really true because this can be a pretty rowdy Irish bar sometimes. Dave and I, back in the day, used to have a band, and it's actually the bar we recorded our live CD at. So I can only imagine the body fluids that are on that door. There's got to be blood, urine, and...
Oh, yeah. People pass out on the second floor. The owner will let somebody up to the second floor, which is empty, and they'll just pass out. And, you know, sometimes I've shown up for a session and just heard somebody snoring in this other room, and I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. What's going on?
How awesome would it be to wake up from a blackout and realize you're on somebody's album snoring?
I'd start suing for royalties, man. I don't work for free.
No, I cut him because he's off tempo.
So, what kind of music you listen to? What kind of bands and such do you try to get on your show?
Well, a lot of them are just Tulsa bands, obviously, because that's what we have here. But anything that I'm into, it tends to be like a lot of Americana, a lot of rock, I like some hippie stuff. I don't know what genres to call it, but it's a lot of. I try to keep it random too. Like I try to have it to where anybody could listen to the show and at least find a band they like. Hopefully. Yeah,
hit all the demographics, expand, diversify.
Yeah. I haven't talked to any like rap artists at all, and I don't know. I think it's because like all the people I meet in that scene kind of seem like dicks a lot of time, and I think that's kind of a thing they have to do.
Yeah, it's an image thing maybe.
Yeah,
I guess
bet
maybe
you're really nice when you
established.
sit down with them. But other than that, you probably will find. Go ahead.
I would say I work with a lot of new, upcoming, young, inexperienced rappers, and they're all like super nice and super eager.
Yeah.
And there's no ego about them yet. But it seems like once they start blowing up, because that's their whole goal, is just to blow up. They don't really give a shit about making good art. And once they start getting there, then they get a little cocky, and then they have their image. They always have to present.
Right. Well, yeah, you got to be a tough guy. It's just like if you're a rock and roll guy, you kind of got to live up to the whole rock and roll lifestyle.
Right. You got to do drugs and bang women.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of cool drugs.
Yeah.
Which is why I always say I'd probably be like the lamest rock star ever because I like have no desire to do drugs or even like, smash hotel rooms and any of that shit. So.
Brian does no drugs and I don't bang women. So
yeah. Now, do you play any instruments yourself?
I play a little guitar. I've played around a lot, quite a bit actually, playing acoustic and singing like cheesy acoustic songs. But I never got really great at guitar, so it was never like something I could feel confident doing. So I can record, I can talk into a microphone okay. So I figure I can podcast better.
Well, if you want to throw us a song to throw up for our mid-show music break this week, you're more than welcome to do so.
Totally.
Oh, cool. Yeah, feel free to search Jason Ferguson on Spotify and pick one. That'd be cool.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's three of us. I'm Jason Ferguson, and with the unicorn butterfly on the logo. There's also
Nice.
a red dirt Jason Ferguson and kind of an R&B Jason Ferguson. And I don't really know how to separate that in Spotify or iTunes. Like we're all just kind of grouped together as one artist, and I also think that's hilarious. So
Yeah.
So it's three different people with the same name?
yeah, same name, and like our albums are all listed by the same artist.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
should write-
I actually had people when I released my album a couple years ago that were like, your music changed, man, because they went and listened to the Red Dirt one instead.
Wrong guy, dude.
You should write a song about how you're the Jason. Like you're the
Yeah.
and how much better you are than the other
Yeah,
two.
fuck all those posers, man.
Yeah, right on.
You're the real J Ferg.
What sucks about that is those guys are more popular than I am, so they show up first, and they'll be like, it's hard to be like, I'm the real Jason Ferguson when it's like the last track on the list.
No, that's how you do it.
Right.
That's what makes you like. You got to have the balls to come out and be like, "You guys are more popular." Well, piggybacking on your success, bitches, and I'm going to claim that I'm the real one.
Right, yeah.
There you go.
Dave,
If I want to piggyback off success with my name, I think I'll use my last name is Ferguson, and all the way growing up, I was called Fergie, and then
Obviously,
I think around
yeah.
like 8th grade somewhere, this other Fergie started getting pretty popular, or at least I found out about her, and I used to think it was like ruining my life, but I could use that same logic you just applied and use that. I'm the real Fergie.
That's
on.
right.
I was actually going to
You-
make a Clarissa Explains It All joke because her brother's name was Ferg. I'm so gay.
I had a
So
similar
lame.
experience though, because everybody called me Buckethead all through high school. That was my football nickname, and I really wanted to use that. I am a guitar player. I'm actually a pretty good guitar player, and I wanted to use it as my name. Then I was like, oh, there's another fucking guitar player who's amazing that goes by Buckethead. So I just go by Dave.
So the most simple and lamest name possible, right? Dave is pretty good. When it's funny that you're talking about piggybacking off of people's success, because Dave and I, for years, when we had a band, that's pretty much all we did.
Yeah, that was our whole thing. That was how we got to where we got.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
better than average. We had some success and traveled a bit, so it wasn't too bad. Nowadays, now that we're older and I got a family and such, now we're kind of relegated to our. I don't know if you listen, but we have once a month we have a segment called That Time of the Month, where
Oh,
we'll
I heard.
where we'll cover a song by a female artist, and Dave usually takes the reins on that and has done pretty well. Speaking of Fergie. His cover of Big Girls Don't Cry is probably one of the greatest covers I've ever heard in my life.
That was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm honored that you'd cover one of my songs, man.
Yeah.
We can't cover one of your songs because you're
He's
not a
talking
female.
because the Fergie song.
Oh, the Fergie. Oh, God, way over my head. Woo! You did what I told you to do, and then when you did it, I missed it.
Right. See, I always miss jokes. I always.
Yeah, usually it's Brian that misses the jokes.
Right. And people stare at me like, dude, you didn't get that? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? See, Dave, you dropped the ball, man.
Damn it.
You dropped it.
Like a bad basketball player.
Right. I don't even know what that means. What
I dropped the
fuck
ball
does that mean?
again.
No, it'd be like a bad football player. Right? Because that's.
Any sport involving a ball.
No, not basketball, though, because the whole point is to drop the ball. That's
God
dribbling,
damn it,
right?
you're right.
Yeah, see, bad football player.
You have to
Are
drop
you-
it forcefully, though.
Right. Oh, okay. So it's like okay.
You have to throw it at the ground.
Right.
So I guess
Like-
it depends
like
on
a
how
bad Lil
bad you're
Allen
missing the
song.
joke.
Right. Well,
Yes.
If you miss it really bad,
well,
if you miss a
every
joke really bad, you. I'm sorry.
every joke we do misses really bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to start the phrase. It's like a confused person at an orgy. Sometimes things just snowball the wrong direction.
Nice. That's it's deep. Deep.
I'm gonna make that stick
So
someday.
So before we got you on the horn, you asked me a question: which microphone do I like better? And I got to be honest, I don't have any fucking clue. I just kind of show up and Dave shows me. So Dave, what microphone are you using?
Okay, so Brian's voice sounds better on the RE20 than it does on the SM7, and since he does the most of the talking, I just use the other one. So Brian uses the RE20, I use the SM7. It's a little better on me. Like we both sound better on their respective microphones. We used to do it the other way, and then one day we switched, and I was just like, "Oh, improvement."
Right, because my voice is kind of ridiculous.
Yes,
right? Like
but for most of our recordings, we're both at home with SM58s, talking over
cool.
Skype, recording ourselves.
yeah,
Nice.
we're because the Dave's he's actually about like 40 miles south of where I am. I live in downtown Chicago, and Dave's like on the ass end of the suburbs. So, so when I was a stay-at-home dad, it was easy for us to get together. But as I jump back into my career and everything like that, like we do a lot of
Remote recording, you would
remote
say?
recording and patching it together. But it's nice on days like today when we're both in the studio and we get people like you to call in. It's a lot of fun. What setup do you use?
I'm using. I'm talking now into an SM58 into interface I bought recently that crashed my computer. So my mixer broke. I love telling the story to people that understand. Which my mixer broke, and instead of buying a new mixer that I ran into like a small interface into my computer, I just bought a big interface that has enough inputs that I would ever need. I can plug in 8 microphones at the same time, and as soon as I and walking out of Guitar Center, I asked the guy, I was like, will this work on my computer? And he didn't even look at it. He was like, of course it will. Like, if you're going to give me money, of course, it works on any computer,
Of course, yeah.
So, like, the first recording, my computer wouldn't handle it at all. So I also had to buy a new computer, and so that's what I'm using. SM58 into a Scarlett i8, i20, and into just a Mac.
Nice.
And I just started using SM58s, and it's funny to me because in the old basement before we moved here, I bought condenser mics because recording music, that's just what I always used. And in the old studio, it worked just fine. And so I had like 4 dynamic SM58s, and then I started buying these condenser mics and started using them. And when I moved over to the new studio, I just kept using them, even though it kind of sounded terrible and took a lot of work to remove background noise. And I've had SM58 sitting here the whole time since April. And finally this week, I was like, why don't I just use those? And it sounds so much better.
Yeah, Brian can't really handle, or condenser microphones can't really handle Brian's voice. There's already enough bleed, and hard to tame them. So yeah, dynamics work just fine for what we're doing.
Also, while you were giving that explanation, Dave gave me the look of, you don't know what the fuck he's talking about, do you? I'm like, no, I have no clue.
Actually, I thought that you had made a motion towards me like you're trying to get my attention. Like you're gonna like whisper something while Jason was talking.
And also our dynamic is bad too. What microphone did Mike Dawson from the Adam Carolla show use, Dave?
I don't remember.
Yeah, we had Mike Dawson, who's the engineer for the Adam Carolla show. And he gave all sorts of great insights into podcasting setup and microphones.
Yeah,
and
I got to drill him about the Adam Carolla, like what the compression ratios he uses and what his mic and preamp setup is. But it's something I never heard of. Honestly, it's just like a one input USB flash drive sized interface or something that's like it's a USB interface, and it's sick. And he just does like a little like 2-to-1 compression, and it sounds great, honestly.
The man knows his stuff. He was a pretty hilarious dude. Too.
Wait, that wasn't the Adam Carolla podcast. That was his own podcast he does from his house, but it sounds just as good as the Adam Carolla
Right,
podcast.
but he also uses that to do like a drive time DJ radio show in Michigan from LA.
Yeah. So that was interesting, yeah.
So what's the biggest band you've had on your show? And I know like that could
Flyleaf, Brian. You already said it.
Oh, sorry.
It depends on what you'd call biggest. I mean, in their career, they were the biggest, but I don't know if they are that now. They're just putting out a new album, kind of getting back into the game. I think right now the biggest band at the moment is a band called The Main. They called in. It was just like a phone interview, and it's like when they retweeted our show, my phone was completely not usable for a full hour, and it's never been that way. Like because of the Twitter notifications of people freaking out, and I was like. Trying to steal their fame, like I'm getting famous too. I'm the real The Main.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's I just now like in the last like 6 months figured out Twitter, so that's good that you're getting.
I still haven't tried yet.
Oh, it hasn't happened since that since that time.
Well, that's the hardest thing as a because like we talk about podcasting a lot too. Is essentially when it comes down to it, and you've probably seen me argue with this with people on Reddit, but everybody wants to think that people that do this, we're like the next fucking Mark Maron or some shit, right? Like everybody thinks that podcasting is going to be like the death of radio and all this stuff, but it's actually really hard to get going and build a following and get interviews and such.
Yeah. I have, luckily, my girlfriend is a big part of our show, and she handles all of the booking and the dealing with management and the dealing with the musicians until they get to the studio. So, like, my part is actually pretty easy. Like, I just came and called you guys, and I'm doing my part, you know what I mean? So I luck out with that, because I really don't do any of the booking. If I think of somebody I want to be on the show, I'm just like, hey, let's contact this band, and then either they show up or they don't.
What was the first band that you reached out to?
The first bigger band, I playing music in Tulsa. The first many episodes are all my friends that I've played shows with a lot, and even bands are coming into town that I've played it with other towns, played shows with in other towns. I don't remember the first one that we. I remember the first. I think the first person I didn't know personally was also a Tulsa band, and this is also when my girlfriend took over because I was in the old, really creepy basement, and with like my friends, I could message them and be like, "Hey, you want to come to the basement and talk into a microphone?" And that's how I would book my friends for the show. But I messaged this girl who was doing a festival, and I just not even thinking about me being a random guy that she doesn't know, messaging her on Twitter, like, "Hey, you want to come to this basement and talk into microphones?" And my girlfriend immediately took over the booking because she's like, you can't just like come across so creepy.
Right.
And then, but luckily the girl thought it was hilarious, but still, I don't remember the first bigger band though.
I should start using that as a pickup line.
Like, hey girl, you want to come to my...
You want to come up to my studio and talk into my microphone?
You want to hear the worst? I randomly remembered this. I spent like 5 years playing music in a blackout, which I'm sure you guys see or may have experienced. But I was just playing and drinking, and that's kind of all my goal was, just to go have fun and play music and drink. I remember like the worst time trying to pick up a girl was I had just gotten T-shirts, like nice T-shirts for the first time. And I wanted to talk to this girl, so I wrote my phone number on the T-shirt and was like, "Hey, here's my shirt, call me sometime." And then like just realized that I wrote my phone number huge on like the outside of the neck of this white T-shirt. So like if she ever tried to wear the shirt, it would just be like my phone number going down the front of her shirt. I never heard from her.
Bitch, maybe she washed her shirt.
Yeah, maybe she washed her shirt.
Well, it was a Sharpie,
Maybe
man.
she
That's
used
not
some of
going
that new
anywhere.
Tide stain lifting power. By the way, if you
probably
work
keeps-
for Tide and you want to advertise on the Nothing Important podcast, sales at nothingimportantpodcast.com. We're shameless. We'll take anybody pretty much except for Comcast, American Airlines, and several other people that we pissed off on the past year. So
Toby Keith.
Toby Keith definitely never going to come on our show.
I wanted to pretend offended that like you would take anyone, but then I was like, well, you're talking to me. Like I couldn't even pretend to be offended because it's like so true.
Well, that's okay, man.
You called us, so what does that say about you?
No, but Jason, but thank you so much for calling in. We're gonna cut it there. Please make sure go ahead, promote anything you.
This is a fake closing, by the way.
This is a fake closing, by the way.
Okay, now start
Okay.
with please.
All right, so we're
please
okay.
feel free to promote. Say that
Can I
part again.
All right.
Can
So anyway,
I squeeze it? I'm sorry.
all right.
Can
So
I squeeze in one more
Jason-
story that I think you'll like?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please do.
With Samir, that first bigger band interview was also our 50th episode, the one that crashed my computer and everything. The first thing he said to me when he sat down, because I have posters hanging up everywhere, and it's just bands that I like or have seen, and he sat down, he's like, "Oh, cool, when did you have Garth Brooks on your show?"
Oh,
I'm like, I didn't understand how to tell him that his management, like he didn't know anything about my show. The management just sends him, says, "Hey, this person's picking you up," and he doesn't know anything. So I don't know. I thought it was hilarious that I was like, I didn't want to tell him like, "Oh, you're our first like famous person."
no, you should have played that off and like be like, "Oh man, let me tell you about that. We recorded him about a year and a half ago, and then my fucking computer crashed and we lost it all." But I'll tell you what, Garth, hell of a guy, that Garth Brooks.
Kind of a dick, but
Yeah, kinda.
just don't ask him about Sparky.
Right, like he broke my favorite coffee mug and didn't even say sorry. But I mean, hey, it's Garth Brooks, right? Like,
Yeah,
well,
surprisingly
awesome.
honest.
Jason, great talking to you. Go ahead, let's hear you promote everything you got going on, website, podcast, all that stuff.
All right, cool. It's just From a Basement in Tulsa, and that's at FromABasementInTulsa.com. At Fabit Podcast, to make it shorter, and Fabit is a hilarious word that I like, just saying Fabit. But yeah, that's it. In iTunes and everywhere you listen to podcasts,
Silly
we should be there.
All right,
Yes.
thanks. Jason from A Basement in Tulsa, thank you for being on Nothing Important.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's been fun.
Today's mid-show music break is the song One Night Stand from the man you just heard, Jason Ferguson. Check him out on Spotify and other places, I think. Here it is.
I woke up dreaming of your face. I woke
And now an excerpt from the book of things Dave doesn't care about.
New Year's resolutions.
This was an excerpt from the book of things Dave doesn't care about.
All right, fuck it. We'll talk about this. All right. So real quick, muscle memory. So we were just talking about how even though a guitar could be very similar and even of the same brand, your muscle memory, it can mess you up playing like a different model or like
playing a different model because your hands might be in a different position relative to your body.
Right,
kind of thing. Yeah.
It's like anybody that's been like in a sport or done any sort of repetitive motion. Like it's weird because like I grew up a wrestler. I wrestled in college for a time, and even to this day, like I still have like the muscle memory.
You probably still like an instinct kicked in that you could hip toss somebody with perfect form because it's just ingrained.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because as you were saying that, I was sitting there thinking one of the games I played most of my life is Mario Brothers 2 on the Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, there's like several different versions of that now. There was like Mario 2 for the Game Boy Advance, even though they changed up some things. Essentially, it's Mario 2, you know, and then there's the Mario 2 on the Super Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny you brought up an instrument because I guess in this case the instrument would be the controller.
Right, yeah.
Right, so I got really used to playing it throughout the years on original Nintendo controller, you know, where the A button and B button are like straight line from each other, so like you roll your thumb, right?
Right.
Well, then as things progressed and, you know, Nintendos, they're hard to get working, we have a Super Nintendo that we play the Super Mario All-Stars version on where the run button is actually above the jump button, so you roll your finger down and you can hit the jumps, right?
Right.
So now I have it downloaded on the Wii U in our family room, and even though it's a similar setup for the controller, it's still completely different just because, I mean, functionally, like the buttons are the same distance, they're like the same size, they look the same, but I can feel the difference going from playing the Super Nintendo version to the Wii U version, even though it's the same software wise, it's the same version of the game, but the feel of the controller.
Yeah, the angle's a little different, or the way it sits in your hand is different, and you're so used to just your thumb being in this one perfect spot.
Right, yeah.
Now you're moving it just the slightest bit can throw you off.
So I can only imagine, like, as a guitarist, because it's you know, when we used to play in the band and stuff like that, people would pick up other people's instruments all the time. And now thinking about it, I remember you picking up other people's guitars to play with it, and you'd play a song you played 100 times, and you'd hit like a sourdough, and you'd be like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Like, and then you'd have to play it again. Was that just you adjusting to like the slight like differences from your like muscle
sometimes
memory?
Or like that, or the space between the strings. You know, because I play like a fatter guitar with like a little bit wider space. So yeah, like, and I have these fat fingers, so I had to be perfect in my placement. If I'm off by a millimeter, I'm hitting the next string or messing up.
Right.
So yeah, just a little bit of difference can really throw you off.
That's how I feel with like texting on my cell phone. I always get a lot of shit because I don't proofread text messages because it's a fucking text message. I kind of hate text messaging anyway, but it appears to be everybody's
preferred form of communication.
Right, preferred form of like. If you would have told me like in the 1990s when we were growing up that like, hey, you know what, everybody's essentially going to go back to writing notes to each other, I'd have been like, that's fucking retarded. We have telephones. Just call me up.
Yeah.
Right. But no, we went from like carrier pigeon to Pony Express to mail to telephones to long distance telephones to
video chat,
and now we're back to fucking writing notes to each other. But now we're not even using like regular keyboards. Like outside of work, I very rarely use my goddamn computer at home. even though you know, like I have a master's degree, I've written papers and theses and stuff like that, right? Like, so I can hammer out a letter and it'll be like perfect. Like I'll hardly have to spell check it. But on the phone, man, sometimes the words don't even fucking come close to what I was trying
no, sometimes they don't. I send you a lot of question marks.
Yeah. But you know what? Like to your credit, you're actually starting to get used to like my total.
Yeah, now it's kind of pick and choose. Like sometimes I'll just give you shit about it.
Right.
Sometimes I'll just be like, I know what he's saying.
Right.
And sometimes I'm literally like, what?
Yeah.
What?
So, you know, fucking muscle memory is fucking insane.
You're listening to Nothing Important.
She likes to talk with her mouth open.
Who likes to talk with their mouth open?
My grandmother.
Like doesn't keep quiet or?
No, what I meant to say was she likes to talk with her mouth full of food.
Oh, gotcha.
But instead I said she likes to talk with her mouth open. Then you're Kenny from South Park, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's kind of weird is now that I have children and they have grandparents and such, I sit there and think about it like, when I grew up with grandparents, and not because my parents were divorced or anything like that. My parents, shit, they've been married like 47 years and still make out and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, all my grandparents were ill, and they all passed away before I was like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have very vague memories of my mother's father. Other than that, I have no.
Which is unfortunate because grandparents are so cool.
Right, yeah, you know, like I see,
it's like they have the kid, but they're not the parent.
right, like
Yeah.
a perfect example would be my father. I have a nephew, and like my dad, I'd play video games, and my dad just be like, "Oh my god," be like, "Stop playing the fucking video games," right?
Mm-hmm.
But my nephew, I remember like 10 years ago, he was playing like Madden, like 2003 or something like that, like on the original Xbox, and my dad actually sat down and like tried to play it with him, and I was like, "Dude, never in a million years."
Right.
Like, I'm not going to say the video game, but I have a video game world record, and his attitude towards that was, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is that supposed to be cool?" You know what I mean? I'm the best in the world at like this. Like, I'm like, world championships by me, 1. World championships by anybody else in this family, exactly 0. You know, like give me a thumbs up, you know? And he's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is that supposed to be
Sorry,
cool?"
you're such a nerd, dude. He's probably like, he heard that and he's just like, God, I failed as a father.
No, he's probably like, "Oh, that fucking game you played all the time." First off, he was probably like, "You're still playing that game?" And then second off, it probably blew his mind that there was like video game records.
Yeah, true. See, my dad would be like, he would think it's awesome. And he would be
Yeah.
like, you know, he would be all into it. Be like, that's fucking awesome, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know. Tell me more about this
Right.
crazy game that you know, became successful. Like, you applied yourself to something. That's the thing. I guess that's the thing. It's like, you actually applied yourself to something.
Well, see, that's the weird thing about my parents. Like, you know my parents decently. You know, we've been around each other for years and years and years, you know? And that's the funny thing about my parents is they're, you know, my mom is mom. So, like, anything in the world is like, "Oh, that's so cool." You know, like, even stuff like tattoos. I drew all of my tattoos. My parents hate tattoos. But if they get the chance to, like, use it as a moment to brag for me, they'll totally do it. Be like, I didn't know your son had so many tattoos." And my mom would be like, "Yeah, he drew them all himself. How about that? He drew such a good artist.
When he
Such a
dies,
good
I'm going to
artist."
skin him and hang him to the fridge.
Right, yeah. So good, so good. Right?
Get it? Just showing off your
Right,
artwork for everybody.
Yeah,
out
right,
there.
hanging from that with that magnet. Nerd. Like, but it's got to be like one of them shitty. Remember when pizza places used to give like the little square magnets about the size of a business card?
With the menu on it?
Yeah,
Or
with the magnet.
yeah.
You got to hang it with that. Like, it was just barely strong enough of a magnet to hold a piece of paper.
Right.
Like, so it always fell or like tilted.
Yeah, use like 4 of them.
Right, yeah.
You're doubling up magnets, like one in the middle of 2 pieces and then one on the corner of each side.
No,
Yeah.
what the key to that is, though, is I remember I'd go to the fridge when I was little and want to put something on the fridge. I'm like, fuck, I don't got any magnets. So I just like cut one of those in 4 to make 4 magnets out of the one. So I had 4 magnets. But that's the thing is like in person, they'll be like, big whoop, you played a video game? Like, that's super cool, Brian. Like, right on. But I've also called them at certain times because the weird thing is, growing up, I don't recall my parents having friends. Not that they're not like antisocial, but like when you have 4 kids,
Yeah, you don't have time.
and you're both trying to make ends meet, you know, and like you're working at a factory and the mom's a nurse and all that, you know, you don't really have time. I can't remember, like me and my wife, we're fortunate enough to where we're in a position where I can pay somebody to watch the kids for an evening.
Mhm.
So me and my wife can go out to dinner.
Right.
I do not remember my parents ever going on a date. Not
No?
once.
Wow.
So now that they're older and all the kids are moved out, you know, and like my dad's retired and they're doing okay for themselves, you know. They actually have friends now, and it's like the weirdest thing. And my mom will be like, "Oh, this is my son Brian." I'll be like, "Hi, I'm Brian. I'm their son," you know. And then out of nowhere, she'll be like, "You know, he has a video game world record." And I'm like, "What?" Like I was all proud and showed you the like certified letter and certificate, and you guys were like, "Oh, that's cool." But they'll use it as a chance to brag about it. Be like, "Oh, my son, he's like one of the biggest nerds out there."
That's right. Secretly, you're proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing my dad does is like, so you make any money off that? Like,
Yeah.
what? No.
Well, have we ever talked about what was your parents' reaction to our song being on the radio?
Our songs being on the radio. Okay. So Dave and I, we had a song. I think we talked about it before. It was like a half-assed parody of a song because we needed to fill time when we were recording a live CD, and the recording's terrible because we didn't know the lyrics. I think we played it twice. And
I was reading the chords off a sheet of paper, and you were reading the lyrics off a sheet of paper.
It was like a fifth grade band. Like you had to have all the stuff in front of you just to like.
There's a spot where I clearly hit a wrong note. I said, "Wait a second," and started playing again.
Yeah, but somehow this song like blew up, and whatever. That's cool for anybody that enjoys it or likes it. Even to this day, it's still played on some of the local radio stations.
People still talk about it,
which is weird. And again, my parents, they brag about that. They brag about that we had this like local radio hit and all this, but you know as well as I do, my parents were not by any stretch of the imagination a fan of our band.
Right, no.
My dad was like at one of our first shows, and he just looked me in the eye. He's like, well, I'll never come to one of your shows ever again. and he held to that until our very last show, where he actually showed up, but then he was embarrassed because I made it a point to point out that he said he'd never come to a show, and he was actually at this one. We like had like the spotlight on him, and I was like, everybody say, hi, Harold. And everybody's like, hi, Harold. Like 300 people screaming at my dad. But now all these years later, my dad's all, oh, yeah, Brian plays that damn song. Like, yep, that's my boy. Remember the joke used to be like, I'm Harold's boy? Because we live in a tight-knit community where literally everybody knows everything about everybody. But so everybody knows everybody, so they just be like, oh, you're, Brian, that's Harold's boy. And so like that used to be like the big joke too, is I would always hope that people would be at our shows from the area and go back and be like, oh, I saw your boy on stage using those fancy fuck words.
My parents were super proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my mom was always the go be a scientist, use your brain for something important bullshit. And I was like, well, I'm an artist. I don't want to use my brain for that.
Right.
So getting on the radio was kind of what helped with the support of my chosen career path thing. My dad was just like, my son is the coolest kid in the world. He's so fucking proud. He's
I think my parents'
smiling.
thing is because I'm so much different from the rest of my family. Like even growing up, like my brother and sisters all had curfews. I never once had a curfew. I would stay the night, like on a Thursday night at a friend's house playing video games, and they'd just be like, oh, I'll stay the night. But my sister and brothers couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like they had
weird
to be home.
being the middle child.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like the oldest doesn't have a curfew, ruins it for the youngest, i.e. me.
Right.
And then, or it's the oldest has a curfew and abides by it, and then so the younger one gets a little more leeway.
Yeah, no, man. My parents just kind of always let me do my own thing. Like, even in current day, I travel, right? I love to travel. Like, I don't buy shit. Like you will never catch me buying a $200 pair of jeans. And the reasoning is not because I don't think they're nice or even that I can't buy a $200 pair of jeans. It's just more like, or I could buy a $30 pair of jeans and take $170 and go stay at a hotel 5 hours away.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and my parents don't understand that. Even though they traveled and went on vacations, they don't get that. It's just like all through high school, my entire goal with sports and everything was get out of this town. And it wasn't because I have any real animus towards the town. It's just I always saw it as there's so much more out there.
You're a big world person.
Right, big world person. But like my sisters and brother, they like being around
small world people.
Yeah, so so they don't understand. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, next year planning a trip to Italy. My dad's like, why? I'm like,
because there's really cool shit in Italy.
Yeah, I don't, because I've never fucking been there. Like,
it's an entirely different society with an entirely different history and culture.
Right.
Kind of want to see that.
Exactly. It's kind of like in the Truman Show where he's trying to go to like Zimbabwe or something.
Fiji, I think he's talking about Fiji.
He's trying to go to Fiji, and they're trying to convince him otherwise. And they're like, why would you want to go to Fiji? And he's like, I've never been there. Isn't that why people go places? And I'm like, fucking exactly.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Or my dad, he uses the classic joke, like, hey, Dad, I think I'm going to go to England. I mean, really, like a flight's like $300. Like I could probably stay somewhere cheap or even in a hostel or Airbnb, some shit. And I'll just go to England and bum around London for a couple days and then I'll fucking come home. Well, why? You already speak English. I'm like, dude, come on, seriously? Like,
because pictures don't do anything justice.
They don't, not at all.
If pictures did everything justice, then nobody would go anywhere.
Right.
You know, I still like. I'm gonna go back to the Grand Canyon because I see pictures of the Grand Canyon, and that just makes me want to go see the fucking Grand Canyon.
Exactly.
And the one time I went to the Grand Canyon, it was so full of fog, I didn't see the Grand Canyon. And I was
How old
moving.
were you?
This was when I moved back from LA. So this is three
in
years
your adult
ago.
life. I was going to say, if you were a kid and your parents took you there, you probably didn't go to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, look at this foggy ass hole.
No, it was like Carlsbad Caverns. And, you know. No, but for real, like, I went to the Grand Canyon, and that was like that's on my bucket list. You know, everybody's got things they want to see, and that's always been one. I love natural wonders and man-made wonders. I'm the kind of guy that goes to a sports stadium and just like I marvel at the construction of the stadium, you know, because there's such massive things of engineering.
And I can actually understand that because I live in the city, and
the engineering it takes to build a city is fucking crazy.
Oh, it's amazing, right? Like I love driving down Lake Street in Chicago because you're underneath the L line, and that'll drop you off on LaSalle Street, and you drive down the avenue with all the tall buildings.
One of my favorite sights in the world is crossing Lake Street crossing the Chicago River on Lake Street, looking towards the lake.
Yeah,
that view is kick-ass.
Chicago really is a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's done. It's the skyline. It's designed well. It's engineered well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But one of the things I love to do, I'll get bored. I'll put the kids in the car because my daughter loves seeing the tall buildings. You know, she gets ice cream too, so that's probably part of it.
Yeah, she says she likes the building, so she can get ice cream.
Yeah, like or the cupcake ATM. Do you know what the cupcake ATM?
No, sounds awesome.
There is I think it's called Sprinkles. Like that's the actual name of the chain. There's only two of them, one in LA, one in Chicago, where it's the front of their building next to the door is an actual cupcake ATM, and it works just like an ATM. You just pick your...
So it's an ACM.
If you will. But they call it the cupcake ATM. Yeah, it like blows everybody's mind, and there's always a line to get cupcakes out of an ATM. But yeah, cupcake ATM. But to your point, like sports stadiums, I've been to a handful of Cubs games. I can't name a single player, but there's something about like, I'll take Western Avenue to Addison and then drive down Addison. And for some reason, I just like driving past Wrigley Field. And I think it's like maybe the historical significance of it or just the fact that it's one of the few like baseball stadiums literally in the middle of a fucking neighborhood. You know, like I drive past it, I'm like, oh, wow, like they took the marquee off. Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's just cool. Like the stadium in San Diego was fucking cool. They built it around a historical building.
They built it around a historical building?
It's like the corner, like with the foul pole is like the corner of the building.
Oh, really?
And like left field. And then they built the stadium around it. And then you can go into that building and watch the games.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And it looks into downtown. It's like that view I was just describing, the Chicago River.
Yeah.
Imagine that's a street and you're sitting behind home plate and that's what you're looking at is through the skyline of San Diego.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's just amazing seeing stuff like that. And like I was just last night, I was having a conversation with one of the waitresses downstairs and she was talking about she was from a small town. She had like two kind of bad experiences in Chicago. One was buying Streetwise. And then getting followed around because they didn't, they hassle you. And the other was somebody asked her for a cigarette. She had found some money at the Taste. So,
found money?
Yeah.
All right.
It was a funny story because it was sitting in like the garbage can. It was like $80.
Really?
So she grabbed it and
you think somebody like tried to throw like a receipt out of their pocket and then they just happened to drop
that had to be it.
Because I'm guilty of that. Like I'll buy something, I'll get a bunch of change, and then I'll like stuff it in my pocket instead of being, and being too lazy to put it back in my wallet.
Right.
And I've dropped it on the floor before, so somebody's probably just walking by, not paying attention. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get rid of this receipt and just fucking threw a wad of cash on the trash can.
It was something like that. She said it was like $80. So she's like, is this a prank? Where's the cameras at?
Right, yeah. Like,
okay, snatch and run. She took off running. Like separates from her group, so finds some like someone like some dude or whatever, like, hey, let's go get a beer and some cigarettes, and then like buys a pack of smokes, and then this bum comes up, just like look like decrepit, and asks for a cigarette. So she pulls out 3 cigarettes, and then the bum lady grabs the entire pack left over and her beer and takes off running down the alley. So she stuffs Steady with 3 cigarettes in her hand. And then she's like, well, it's not my money. Let's go do this again.
Right, yeah.
Cigarettes in Chicago are $12 a pack.
What can you say?
But
the homeless lady wanted it more.
That's what I said. I was like, yeah, you never know. But then she's like, oh, I'm probably never going to go to the city again. She's like, I'm 27. I'm probably never going to go to this. And I'm like,
why?
You're missing out. Like
from where we're at right now, it's like an hour.
Yeah,
less than an hour.
It's the intimidation and like dealing with bums and unsavory people. But you're missing out on so much cool stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot of exceedingly cool stuff in Chicago, which is funny because I actually used to be kind of one of those like anti-Chicago people because my thing is I would always tell people, I guess because I grew up like not in Chicago, but in proximity to Chicago. If that makes sense. And
Well, I always say that the area we grew up in, it's a small town, and it's got all of the small town stuff where it's relatively safe. There's not much going on. Everybody's kind of lame.
right.
But anything you want to do you can day trip to do anything you want to do.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, totally. You can go to Wisconsin, Michigan, Chicago, any of that.
And it's always an hour away.
But my thing is
Everything in Chicago's an hour away.
Right. I used to be like, well, but because when you graduate college, everybody wants to move to the big city, right? Everybody wants to make it big, go work downtown, be in the big city. It only happens for a small percentage, but for most people, hey, what are you gonna do after you graduate college? Oh, I'm gonna move to the city. I'm gonna do this, and I was always like, no, like I don't really have any desire to go to Chicago. Like I'd rather go be a fucking beach bum in Florida. You know, like I always said that. Like fuck it, I'll go be.
Which you did for a while.
Which I did for a while. I had the opportunity. I took it. But now that I'm older, you know, I have a wife and children. It's actually like I think I actually appreciate the city more now than I would have had I been a single guy living in the city.
Yeah, maybe it's because when you have a family, you do kind of different stuff. When you're a single guy, like some of our podcast guests, you just kind of go to the bars and troll bitches.
Right, yeah.
You know, and that gets kind of old. And it's like, there's a whole world of things to do out there, Tim.
Right, yeah.
You don't have to go to the bar and pick up girls all the time, Tim.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.